Good day. Just in case you are joining for the very first time, I am Brian Glaze Gibbs, and this is my story. My story, the Brian Glaze Gibbs story, is a true story of change and redemption. And what it's telling you is, if out of everything that I've been through in my life, if Brian Glaze Gibbs, can change, anybody can change. Why, people? Because change comes from where? Change comes from within. In order to change, you must want to change. You must have the desire. You must have or been through so much pain that pain was so powerful and so painful that you do not want to relive that no more. So what happened is that bring about a change. And that's what happened to me. It took the death of my beloved mother, the late Dorothy Gibbs, in order for me to change, in order for me to wake up, in order for me to be the person that she raised me to be. And that's a shame, because once again, how come somebody that was so great in my life that it took her death for me to change? Why couldn't I see the light from the very beginning and decide, you know what, the light bulb in my brain cell would have went off and say, you know what, hold up, wait a minute here. If this lady love you so much, this is your mother. She gave you birth. She gave you life. If she loved you so much and you love her so much, why it took her death for you to change? Because I was a knucklehead. I was what you call a pure D-A-S-S hoe. I didn't understand the definition of love. I didn't appreciate what I had until it was entirely too late. And once she passed away, my whole life turned upside down and my whole life has changed. So here it is. This is who I am. This is my story. I am Brian Glaze Gibbs, and this is my book, Beyond Lucky, the Brian Glaze Gibbs story, a true story of crack, money, murder, and redemption. In order to order your signed copy of the Brian Glaze Gibbs story, email me at Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Gibbs, Gibbs, 1201 at yahoo.com. Once again, to order your signed copy, email me, at Brian Gibbs 1201 at yahoo.com. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with a story. And the story is about my mother, my belated mother. May her soul rest in peace and her spirit be lifted. Anything that is good from me, it came from my late mother, Dorothy Gibbs. She was loving, she was caring, giving, and very family oriented. She was fair but stern at times, especially when it came down to her children. She had a big heart that was pure as gold. And I, Brian Glaze Gibbs, unintentionally killed my beloved mother by constantly breaking the law, in and out of jail and prison, refusing to repent and change my way in life. Despite I was not physically responsible for her death, my action and bad behavior and poor decision caused her health to fail. No warning. It was no warning at all. At the age of 52 years old, my mother was no longer with us. She died of a massive stroke. And I had nobody to blame but myself. That night, when I made that phone call, I called home. I can honestly say I was in a hole. I was in prison. I was in a hole. And when I made that call and I got the news that I received over that phone line, you know what I'm saying? It was the worst day of my life. And I knew then my life would never be the same. Okay? Keep in mind, I am locked down in a hole, in a box, basically 23, 24 hours a day. Only time I come out is for rec, 1 hour. Only time I come out is 3 times a week for a shower. Everything has come to me. As far as if I want to eat, my food came to me. My mail came to me. Medication like sick call came to me. And you know what? Here it is, all because I effed up. I messed up. I became a career criminal. I committed a crime. My mother used to always say, if you make your bed, you're going to lay in it. And at that present time, I was laying in it. You know, all I could do when she died, all I could do was break down and cry. You know what I'm saying? She was my mother. She was my father. She was my big sister. She was my best friend. I don't care what I've been through in life. If she told me it was going to be all right, guess what? It was going to be all right. Every time I got into trouble, I can remember her telling me, listen, and she told not just me, but my brother and my sister. She told us, if you go out there and you get into trouble, don't call me because I'm not going to be there. Here it is, the first time I got in trouble. You know, the first time I got arrested. The first time I got sent to Rikers Island. The first thing I did, I called my moms. I called my moms crying. Mom, they beat me up. Mom, they taking my clothes. Mom, I'm suffering. I'm in pain. Please get me out. What did she do? She went against everything that she said she wasn't going to do, and she did. She came and she bailed her baby boy out. Not only did she bail me out once, twice, 3 or 4 times, she bailed me out numerous of times. And not only that, she didn't let me go down in flame. She got me the best lawyer that she can possibly, get me at that present time. And when you sit back and you think about it, for what? For what? Out of love. It's nothing like a mother love. Here it is right now, as I sit back and I reflect back about the life and what I did to my mother, what the pain, the suffering, here it is right now, like everything, the unnecessary tribulation I put my mother through. I regret that. I regret that. I wish I would have became the man I am today back then, showing her that I changed, showing her that I know right now was her teaching, her upbringing, her love, her support was genuine. It's nothing like my mother love. Anything that good that come out of me, it's come from my late mother. Like I say, I broke down and cried. She was now gone forever. How was I going to pay her back now? How was I going to show her that I finally have changed, that I have finally got my life together? Anyone who's out there listening, listen to me now. Please take heed to the message. Please, by honoring thy mother and thy father, by doing so, thy days should be long. Please do not be like me and so many others who have wasted our life in the street and out of jail, in and out of jail. Please learn from our mistake. Learn from so many others' mistake. Let us know that crime doesn't pay. Because of me becoming Glaze, I was unable to go to my beloved mother's funeral. I was unable to go and pay the last respect to the woman that I love more than life itself. Why? You know what I'm saying? Because I was this guy. I was this gangster. I was this killer. I was this drug dealer. I was this sick individual with a sick mentality. You know what? For what? You know what I'm saying? Now tell me, what is gangster? What is gangster about that? Later for that. I'm saying right now is why you still have a chance. Why your mother, your father, your grandparent, your brother, your sister, why your wife, your kids, why you still have a chance. Put away and stop fronting. Start being true for yourself so you can be true with them. In order to be honest with anybody else, you must first attempt to be honest with yourself. And I wasn't being honest with myself. I'm a mama boy. I was a professional mama boy. But yet and still, I went astray. Yet and still, I broke my mother's heart. I caused her stress. I caused her pain. I caused her suffering. I believe in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit, I caused the death of the woman that I love the most because of my stupidity, because of my love of the street, opposed to being in love with my mother, opposed to the love that she was giving me. I wasn't giving it to her back because I was giving her that love back. Guess what? I would have changed my ways. I would have got my life together. I would have got a 9 to 5. I would have got 2, 3, 4, 9 to 5, to prove to that woman that I love her more than life. Now, all I can do is share my story, my ministry, and get these kids, my kids, your grandkids, my grandkids, the future generation, to get them to understand crime doesn't pay. There's no shortcut in life. Stop picking up a brick, throwing at that prison wall, making that multi-billion-dollar prison system their permanent address. Listen, what I'm going to do is, this book right here, I dedicated to my mother. What I did was, I wrote this away when I was in prison, when I was incarcerated. This book is dedicated to my mother, Dorothy Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? I love you, and there's not a day that goes by without you in my thoughts. Okay, that's in my words. But yet, in still regards what? Here it is. I didn't get to tell her that. You know what I'm saying? These are things I want you to understand. These are some of the things that I went through in life. Okay, my mother. This is an excerpt from my book. Most important at the time, I was hoping to spare my mother the fact that I was guilty. The trial and its outcome would be heavy on my mother, mind and spirit. I have said often, the most important person in my life was my mother, Dorothy Gibbs. I cannot say that enough. She was the best thing that ever occurred in my life. Even during my teenage years, when I first started getting into trouble, from getting kicked out of Franklin K. Lincoln High School for assault and robbery of another classmate. I remember just slapping the shit out of Robert, a student, and demanding his belonging. And yes, he reported an incident in which he should have, and I was kicked out of Franklin K. Lane. I remember going to a hearing at the Board of Education with my mother. In attendance was Robert and his parent. The charges was read, and Robert actually testified and gave his version, and I was suspended from school. And the irony of it all, Robert's parent chose not to press charges. I was guilty as sin. Even way back then, I was crying out. If his parent would have pressed charges, and I would have went to Spofford or juvenile and learned from that, probably I would have changed. Looking into my dear mother's eye, I can see that my action had caused her pain and embarrassment. To be honest, never once did I set out to cause my mother the heartache and pain due to my stupidity and reckless behavior. That day, as I look into her eyes after the hearing, all I could do and all I can say to her repeatedly, I'm sorry. As I watched the tears roll down her face that caused me to cry. I wish I could say that would be the last time that my action was the reason to cause her pain. The truth of the matter, that was only the beginning. Even way back then when I was in high school, even way back then when I was in junior high school, I was acting out. It was there. The sign was there. My mother taught my sibling and me right from wrong, but I was that lost sheep that went astray. She always encouraged her children to live life as good Christians and stay away from all negativity. Being a young father at the time, I loved my mother with all my heart, but I was in love with the street. I was in love with that light, camera, action, any and everything that the street had to offer, okay? I thought the street had, you know what I'm saying, anything they had to offer, I was in love. My mother would sit down with me and discuss my behavior and action. And for the life of me, I couldn't be truthful with her. If she heard that I was involved in any criminal activity that went on in the neighborhood, such as someone being robbed or someone home being burglarized, I would lie to her. I couldn't find the courage to tell her the truth. As time went on, I became Glaze. I was a criminal. I was a sticker kid, committing armed robbery. I was a drug dealer. I was a killer. How could I, one of the most important individuals in her life, her baby boy, be such a total F up? My words. Who had gone completely astray. But trust me when I say my mother knew what she was hearing about her son, Brian Glaze Gibbs, was true. Call it a mother instinct, but she knew. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Even though I was a lowlife, even though I was a sinner, but you know what? My mother saw the best in me. My mother, she didn't stop loving me. She didn't stop caring for me. You know what I'm saying? Even right now, when I caught my last bid, when I caught my federal bid with Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols and Pappy Mason, And she used to come see me. I had to stop her. Mom, look, I'm all right. You don't have to come see me. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your weekend. I stopped my mother from coming to see me, from flying to see me, to spend quality time with her baby boy, because I was all right. I was ghetto rich. I was all right. I had, my wife at the time. I had girls at the time. And that's another story, folks. The bottom line is learn to be dedicated to one woman. Learn to be dedicated and true to that individual that's true to you. Here it is right now is we as men, it's a double standard. We can do any and every dirty tricks in the book. We can cheat and have multiple girlfriends, multiple mistresses, multiple affair. But as soon as they have one affair, guess what? We can't take it. Here it is right now. We all into our feeling. We are moaning and groaning like it's the end of the world. But in life, don't dish it out if you can't take it. And that's what I did. Back to the book. As yes, my mother knew I was Glaze. I can recall one night I was on my way to our apartment in Cypress Hill houses, and these two guys from the crime house section of Brooklyn tried to rob me. It was late winter 85 or early 86 when they caught up with me in front of 1260 South Avenue building. I knew one of them. It started out with small talk, asked me several BS questions that had nothing to do with anything, which gave me the indication these chumps was looking to rob me. I had about $1,500 in cash and wearing over $5,000 in jewelry. As it became obvious of their attention, I told them, give me 5 minutes, that I had to pick up a couple of $1,000 from my man on the third floor. Now these knuckleheads was just being greeted. Instead of going to the third floor, I continued to the 7th floor, to the roof, and then over to my building, 1266 Avenue, running down to the 4th floor to my apartment, 4B. My mother was still up, and it was about 10 p.m. as I went and hugged my mom and told her I love her. As she was on her way to bed and already prepared for work the next day, I then went to my stash and grabbed one of my mini gun, a Colt 45 automatic. As I left our apartment in search of these two knuckleheads to put a bullet in their rear end. They was no longer at 1260. I ran into them on Sutter and Euclid Avenue, and I just went into attack mode, allowing my 45 to talk for me as I was shooting at them and they were shooting back at me as they ran off into the darkness. The very next day, my mother confronted me by saying that all night it was peaceful until I came upstairs and went back out, and then it sounded like the 4th of July. I played dumb, and I told my moms, you know how bad this neighborhood is? It could have been anyone out there shooting. My mother just looked at me saying, yeah, right. It was black and white. It was clear as day. She knew who I was. And folks, don't think you can fool kids, boys, girls, young boy, young girl, young man, young woman. Don't think you can fool people. Don't think you're fooling anybody. You're not fooling anybody. Only person you're fooling is yourself. Only person you're not being real with is yourself. And that's the sad part about it. It's like right now, I thought I was fooling her. I wasn't fooling her. She knew who I was, but it didn't matter because I was her son. She gave birth to me. From the day that I was born, she loved me for me. And here it is right now is I didn't get a chance to apologize. I didn't get a chance to let her know, Mom, you know what? Listen, I was wrong. I was a fool. And you know what? Here it is. When she died and I couldn't go to her funeral, and then the first time that I was granted the opportunity to visit her gravesite when I was free, trust me, it was very troublesome. It was very different. It was very painful. It was very sad. It was very hurtful. And guess what? I didn't have nobody to blame but myself. And as I sit back and I reflect upon that 4-letter word we call life, listen, here it is, choices. We have the choice to do right and we have the choice to do wrong. Before you do anything, listen to what I got to say. Do critical thinking. Do it for breakfast. Do it for lunch. Do it for dinner. Before you do anything in your life, ask yourself the quality question. Is what I'm about to do is going to bring me harm? I'm saying pain, or it's going to bring me pleasure? It's going to bring you pain? If you're a selfish individual, don't make no difference who it affects. But if you're not a selfish individual, think about all the suffering and pain that you're going to put the people that love and care about you through. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And to me, Brian Glaze Gibbs, didn't mean, to be responsible for my mother's death. And that was the case, guess what? It would have happened a long time ago. And even right now, I'm going back to another excerpt in my book. When I almost killed my brother. For the period 1986, at the age of 22 years old, my brother James Gibbs, Kool-Aid, and I got into a big beef. Mind you, he's only 11 months older than me. This character have a very bad habit of talking down to people and saying very nasty and disrespectful things. One night we got into a big argument, okay? He was telling me which one of my girlfriends at the time I could or could not bring back to our apartment in Cypress Project. He was telling me that I couldn't bring back my date back to the apartment because he was dating her sister. And at the same time, he was entertaining another girl and her infant child at the apartment. Nevertheless, I went to the apartment. I was alone. I was by myself. I didn't have nobody when I went to the apartment. And he locked the door with the deadbolt, so I couldn't get in. I was knocking on the door and he wouldn't let me in. I became pissed and started kicking on the door, but he still wouldn't let me in. Now I'm feeling like the wolf and the three little pig, huffing and puffing. I am really pissed. So I went to a payphone and called the apartment. He answered and I told him to let me in the damn apartment. This clown boldly said, no, you need to take your behind to a hotel. Now I'm seeing red. I leave the payphone and run from the corner of Southern Euclid back to our building at 1266 Southern Avenue, apartment 4B, and I start knocking again. Then, in that moment of frustration, I took out my old-fashioned 9mm German Luger, fired 3 to 4 shots into our door to no avail. Now, he's really scared out of his whip. This dude decided to call my mother at 1 a.m., telling her that I really lost at the time. Suddenly, my mother started paging me from her phone number, her home phone, using 911 non-stop. But I didn't return her call. As I waited around, a distance from the building, I saw him placing his lady and the baby into a cab. As the cab drove off, I waited for him as he headed back to the building. He was looking back and forth and around until he spotted me with my 9mm German Luger in my hand. He took off running with me on his behind. He ran to 1266, the next building, okay? As he ran, up the stairs, and he was going from the first floor to the second floor, to the third floor, to the fourth floor, and finally he reached the 7th floor, exiting the roof. As he was running on the roof, heading to 1266, he lost his foot on some pebbles, okay? And he fell flat, face first. I caught up with him. I had the gun pointed right at him. I was fuming and foaming at the mouth like a mad dog, yelling and screaming at him. You wouldn't allow me into my place. And how could you put that young lady and her baby before me? I put the gun to his head. And he's pleading and crying and yelling, please don't kill me. You are my brother. For the sake of mommy, I'm begging you for my life. As I'm about to squeeze the trigger, my pages start going off. It's my mother. And me with tears in my eyes, still foaming at the mouth like a pit bull. Knowing as bad as I want to empty that clip into his head and kill him, I knew it would have been like I killed my own mother. I knew my action on Ruth would have surely caused her death, and I wouldn't have been able to cope with that. I told him he's lucky at the fact that I love our mother more than life itself. And if he ever step out of line with me again, I'm going to forget we exit from the same road. Listen, folks, love is a monster. And the bottom line in life is not what you do, it's how you do it. And to me, as I sit back and think about that, that's how many years ago? But yet, and still regardless of what, to me, the love of this woman, like anything good about me, came from her. I sit back and think about it. I know me. And right now, this is my beloved mother, the late Dorothy Gibbs. This is her and me during the time I was serving a bid, my first bid. This is in 83, 84, when I went through when I went from Rikers Island to Elmira, the Fishkill Correctional Facility, the Green Haven Correctional Facility. She was there. On her days off and her time off, she made sure she visited me. She made sure that I had money in my commissary. She made sure I had mail. She made sure I was able to collect calls. That's what a mother do. You know what I'm saying? And here it is. Did I appreciate that? No, I didn't. This is her again with my son. That's my mother and my son. Look at that smile. Look at my son. She spent more quality time back then with my son than I did. Because right now, when I went away, my son was 99 days old. And right now, I can remember my son and my sister used to fight. And right now, my son used to sit on my mother's lap. And my sister used to sit on my mother's lap. And right now, he used to look at my mother and say, "Grandma, ain't I your baby?" And my sister used to fight, I'm my mother baby. And they used to go at it. Despite they got like probably a 20 plus years different, it didn't matter. You know, this is my late mother, Dorothy Lee Gibbs. Here's another picture of her when she retired. See, this is her right here when she retired. Okay, she retired at the age of 52. Here it is. I got a brand new house built from the ground up in South Carolina. She retired at 52 in December of 1991. She went down there. She lived to live her life of retirement. Never collected not one, retirement check. She died on February 9th, 1992. So what I'm trying to say right now is, do I feel guilty? Yes, I feel guilty. Because of my stupidity, my action, my criminal ways, I caused the death of my mother. Yes, it was not intentionally, but unintentionally, you gotta hold yourself accountable. I caused the death of my late mother. And yes, I beat myself up about it. I beat myself up about my mother's death and all the victims and their family, like the pain and suffering that I put the victim and their family through. It took the death of my beloved mother to make me understand what I put them through. And I don't care what anybody say. That type of pain, you do not wish upon your worst enemy. I don't care what anybody say. If you only got, more or less like an ounce of humane in you, you don't wish that pain upon your worst enemy. Once you get true identity with yourself, once you get healing, once you get self-medication and you understand, you start meditating, you start praying, you start asking for forgiveness, you start repenting, guess what? You understand that was not the life. You understand where did you went wrong. You understand, like, man, this is not me. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live a life of a lie. I don't want to be caught up into that materialistic world, that fake world, that gangster world, that wannabe world. I want to be whole. I want to be healed. I want to be free. I want to be loved. Let my story end. Let my story be ministered to those that are out there that's at risk, that don't understand, that think this is a game, that think their life is like playing Grand Theft Auto. This is real, folks. Don't be like me. Don't get out there and get caught up into that temporary high. Everything in life is temporarily. All money is not good money. Get out there and do it right the first time. Don't be like me. Don't be able to go and pay the last respect to your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your family member. Be able to love them. Let them, give them the flowers now. Don't wait until it's too late to give them their flowers. Listen, my name is Brian Glaze Gibbs, and I'm telling you, crime doesn't pay. Follow me on IG, Brian Glaze Gibbs. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. Here it is right now. This is my story. Beyond Lucky, the Brian Glaze Gibbs story. If I can change, anybody can change. Could change come from within? One love.